Hey everybody, welcome back. I just wanted to tell you thank you for coming back. Um, as you can see, the title of my video is Resist the Devil and He Will Flee. Um, I just had a quick, um, I guess you could call it epiphany. The Lord just really revealed something to me, and I just wanted to share it with you all. The enemy is tricky, and what I noticed going on around me is the fact that um, the enemy is patient. We as God's people are not very patient. And we're always looking to draw to someone. Um, we consider being by ourselves equivalent to loneliness. And it becomes a weakness for us. And the enemy takes advantage of that weakness. I've noticed that he has been um, using people around me to um, basically, how can I put it nicely? When you are tired of being by yourself, or you don't agree with the person who you're with, that leaves an open doorway. Now, with the open doorway, I didn't know you were in here. I thought I closed my door to lock you out. My Mally Poo is here. Um, with the open doorway, the enemy looks, of course, to get in. Um, what he's good at, being patient, is sitting back and waiting for someone to get tired of you or you to get tired of somebody so that he can be that, that shoulder to cry on or lean on you know. And I've noticed that he's been using that for the people around me, like, the people who I have disagreements with, not necessarily arguments, just disagreements. Um, or even people who I have, you know, gotten so close with. I notice, we always say, yeah, the enemy uses the one closest to you. And that is true. And that is because that's the one who you're most vulnerable to. And that's not to say you stay away from anybody, but you have to gird up your loins in the Lord. The word says, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee. We always remember, resist the devil, and he will flee, but we always forget to submit to God. And why that is important is because we can get in our flesh quickly about things. I noticed someone who I'm close with has a bit of an attitude with me for like no reason whatsoever that I know of right now. And I just, I begin to overview everything, to look over everything. That's what I do. I overview everything. And I noticed that it was certain people I was telling this individual not really to deal with too tough, like their family, so you can't get rid of them. But I said, don't, um, cling to them so tough. I said, begin to build your relationship with the Lord. That's important. And, the reason I said not to cling to them too tough is because that's who the enemy is using to pull you down. Now, me being on the outside, I get to see that. You being up close and personal, you just see his family, and that family wouldn't do that to you. And you're right, family wouldn't, but the enemy will use your family to do it. And since they're ignorant of who he is, you're ignorant of the fact that he's using them. So you got a bunch of blind leading the blind, a bunch of ignorance running around, and then you wonder why you wound up where you are. And I have seen this happen time and time again. And I just sit back and I pray, and I'm like, well, Lord, like, I see this. What is my part to do? And he said, pray. And I was like, wow. I mean, and I know that seems so simple, but when you're so close to somebody, you want to jump in there and like be Captain Save a Hoe. Like save everybody, save every situation. And it's hard to realize that you can't. That's Jesus's job. He already did that. Our job is to rest in him, and resting in him requires our faith in him, which requires our prayer to him and letting the situation go. But I wanted to bring to your attention that this is one of the ways the enemy moves. A lot of people don't see it, they don't understand it, they don't know it. Um, and then you have people on the other end who get hurt by family and friends, and they're mad with them. But the word says we wrestle not against flesh and blood. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the enemy will use the ones closest to you, especially when you're not on one accord, and your walk with the Lord, your talk with the Lord, and your relationship with the Lord. Um, it's sort of difficult to um, try to explain to people what you see when God has given you something that they don't have. And it's hard to explain to people, well, God gave me a gift to see things, to know things, to, wisdom, revelation. And, they begin to feel as though you're pompous or, you think you're better than them. And that's a trick from the enemy too. And you also have to rest in the Lord with that, because you have to understand you are who you are. You're beautifully and wonderfully made. God made you for a reason, and your reason is in his hands, not everybody else's. And just because you see what they're going through and not them themselves, it doesn't make you pious. It doesn't make you, a know-it-all. It doesn't make you, someone told me, I condemn people, when it's funny, because I've spent my time, my whole portion of my life trying to help people, trying to help them to understand what's going on, because the Lord has blessed me to see what's going on. And people, when I say see, I'm not talking about physically, see spiritually behind the scenes what's going on. Um, a lot of people don't know my history, they don't know my past, but I was into witchcraft and voodoo. And before I came to Christ, when I was in that mess, I crossed over a barrier that really you just can't cross back. You see what I'm saying? You don't just walk into the enemy's camp. Hey, let me take a portion of this pork chop and some of this spare rib. And, you don't just sit down, eat with them, and then get up and leave. It's not that simple. Um, so, crossing over that line caused me to have to mature fastly, because the Lord had to come and get me. He had to rescue his baby. I had gotten myself into something that I didn't know what I was doing, how I got there, and he came and he rescued me. And that's how awesome God is. He does that all the time. And we have to understand that just like he rescues us, he'll rescue them. And sometimes it's hard for us to understand that, because we want to help them, because he shows us what's going on. So don't count your gifts slack. Don't count who you are slack. You see what you see. Our job is to pray about it. And sometimes it's hard to find someone who you can communicate with, who you can talk to about these things, and really be like, well, sis or brother, I see this, I see him going down the wrong road. And it's like, yeah, well, we're going to come together. We're going to touch and agree. We're going to pray that God will turn this thing around in their life, and it's hard to find people like that. Everybody's so judgmental. Some people are really fed up. And I can understand that too. Some people are fed up. You have parents who, well, my child ain't listening to me. You know what? He just gonna get what he deserves, or she gonna get what she deserves. And it's gonna smack her, and life gonna beat the hell out of it. I'm like, whew. And that's frustration, and that can be understood. Are you scratching on my? Oh, you want to get out? You have to wait. That's understandable as well. Malachi, stop scratching at my door. Nothing. So, it is imperative that we stay focused on Jesus. I myself, I can tell you, I personally struggle with like a whirlwind, like trying to stay focused on the Lord while also trying to, come here, come on, come on, jump again, almost there. Um, while trying to live my daily life. And I'm trying to learn how to do like intros for my YouTube video and things like that. And then I'm concerned also with souls, like praying for people and things like that. So you would think that it would be simple to just let the two fit jointly together. Just focus on Christ while living my life. And of course, the enemy has to find a way to fight me on that. And he does, so it's difficult for me. So I understand when, cat butt, I understand when, it's hard for us as people to stay focused. And don't think you're crazy, because you're not. It's the enemy. He, can't let things go smoothly for you. Christ is our center point, our central point, our source, and we have to stay focused on him. But he said, even he told his disciples, basically, let's lock our lips and let's keep it moving, because the enemy of this world, the prince of the airways is here. Like, he's listening. The Lord knew he was listening, and that's what the enemy does. He listens. And sometimes we as people talk too much. I had to tell my friend, like, it's things that I can't discuss with you. And he's a male, and I had to let him know it's things that I cannot discuss with you, because the enemy is listening and waiting. I would notice that after talking to him, we've been friends since I was 14. So that's some years. And now we begin to talk about like his past relationships and our friendship and things like that. And I noticed um he knows I'm celibate, and I noticed, like, I would talk to him about things that he would bring up to me about, like his exes and sex and things of that nature. And every time I got off the phone with him, I would get attacked in my dreams. And I had to tell him last night, like, I understand why um you need a male to talk to about certain things. And I had to tell him, I said, even though we've been friends for years, it's only certain things I can discuss with you. Some things you have to discuss with a male, because the enemy is an opportunist. And I receive the attacks on my end. I know you go home and get good sleep. You didn't got this weight up off of you. I said, but I go home and I deal with these attacks. I said, and sometimes I understand we also have to be the bearer and the weight carriers for our brothers and sisters. So I keep that in mind as well, but I, encourage him to look for a male to talk to these things about, because certain things, like I said, the enemy is an opportunist, and I know he sits around and listens to our conversation, and it's nothing, graphic about our conversation, nothing bad, nothing, out of place. Even when it comes to sex, I'm comfortable talking to anybody about sex, because sex is a beautiful thing. The enemy has found a way to pervert it, but it initially is a beautiful thing. And of course, it's made for a married couple. That's the way God designed it. So I'm comfortable talking about that, but at the same time, like I said, when the attacks come my way, I let him know. I said, you're under attack. I said, and you're under attack because now I'm getting your attacks, because it's like the enemy is like a bully. You see what I'm saying? If he's sitting there bullying you and I come up and I tap him on the shoulder like, hey, leave him alone. What you think the bully gonna do? He ain't gonna walk away and be like, yeah, you're right. He's gonna be like, okay, wait, you want some of this too? So I carry some of that weight, but I know that's also a form of intercession. God uses us for that. You see what I'm saying? He uses us spiritually for that as well as physically. And I had to let him know, the enemy is listening. So I just wanted to tell everybody, just be aware of your conversations, be aware that the enemy is patient. He's sitting back listening. He's watching. Everything is not God being against us. God is never against us. We're not even in that desperation anymore. We're under grace now, where God is for us, because really the enemy has been released to a point the way God is like, okay, I need to push my people forward, need to keep them going, keep them focused on me, keep pushing them forward. And that's what a father does, and that's what God is. He's our Abba Father, and he's constantly wanting to push us. And sometimes we linger around the same old areas, the same old people, so until, like they say, until he opens up the next door, praise him in the hallway. It's sort of, our life is sort of like that, until he's ready to move us to our next spot. Stay focused on him, pray for those around you, and just always be alert. I don't like saying be careful, because there's no such thing really. Like, God never said be careful. He said be vigilant, be courageous, but he never said be careful, because our trust should always be in him. So be vigilant. Be vigilant, be full of love, and like I said, I'm always here. Leave a comment. I'll do my best to respond. And God bless you, and love you all.